1984, they had a very public implosion with FROSKURINN basically telling the entirety of their own built-in audience to do better. Now, of course, we could all point and laugh at that because it's someone outside. It's someone that most of us in our sphere weren't fans of, weren't aware of. We can just view it as a case study in what to do. What hits a little bit more to home, or closer to home, I should say, is when John Campea does it. Because I will say right away, John Campea, to me, he is something of an inspiration. For better or worse, in two ways, he was an inspiration behind the creation of Midnight's Edge in the first place. One is that I admired what he was doing with the way that he was analyzing the box office, the way he was analyzing the studio politics, the way he was going through, taking us a little bit through the curtain of what happens in Hollywood. And of course, I was always also driven nuts by him sometimes because he would always go with the studio narrative. When there was a smoking ruin in the background, you had rumors left and right of everything going wrong. He would always parrot the studio narrative until such time when it could be denied no more. Like the big one to me was Josh Trank's Fantastic, where you had all of these horrible rumors, and still he and his merry band at AMC, which I watched religiously at the time, were always like, no, just rumors, ignore, pay no attention to it. Which is part of what inspired Midnight's Edge to begin, to kind of not be an alternative to John Campea and AMC, but rather maybe a supplement to it. This is good stuff, apart from in these particular things, that's where we'll take over. That's kind of where we wanted to position ourselves. But still, I used to have nothing but respect for the man, because he was so important and influential when it comes to film punditry, independent film punditry. Let's be honest, he kind of started it all. And so to see him pull a FROSKURINN is disappointing to me personally, to see him do something like this. Of course, he's done similar things before, but this is an extreme. Play the clip, Tom.
Hey guys, John here on a beautiful night in Southern California, and I'm just out here kind of doing my normal evening routine, doing a little bit of work, trying to get ready for the next day. Just not a lot, just a little bit of light reading and some information gathering, if you will, just to get some stuff so I have a little bit of a head start in the morning when I do my stuff. And I was going through some of the comments on some of the videos today. One of the stories that came out today was they got their lead cast for the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake, and I thought it was a terrific looking cast. I mean, they got the kid from the Black Phone, which to me is really quite exciting. They went and got the girl, Nico Parker, I think is her name, from Last of Us, who I think is tremendously gifted, and I love the episode she was in. I think she's going to be fantastic in this. And I started noticing that there were a bunch of comments on the girl being in it, and people complaining that this How to Train Your Dragon thing is already ruined because they changed Astrid. And because they changed Astrid, that means this thing was a complete disaster. It was ruined. It was destined to fail because they changed Astrid. I thought that was interesting. Because you know full goddamn well that if Astrid's supposed to be 5'3", and they hired cast a girl who was 5'4.5", that's a significant change, but nobody would have said anything, right? They wouldn't have said a thing. If Astrid is supposed to have hazel brown eyes, but they cast an actress who had walnut brown eyes, well, that's a change. But full goddamn well, they wouldn't have complained about it. Wouldn't have said a thing. Would have been perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that change. If in the movie, Astrid was supposed to be right-handed, and they had the audacity to hire an actress who was right-handed, well, that's a change. It's a change. Goddamn well, they wouldn't have said a thing about it because that's fine. But oh my God, if you get a girl who the pigmentation of her skin tone is a little bit different than Astrid's is. And then by the way, Astrid, who comes from a complete mythological fairy tale, non-existent, completely made up in fiction race of people and Vikings that don't really exist. If the pigmentation of her skin is a little bit darker than what Astrid's is in the cartoon, height, not a problem. Eye color, not a problem. Hand, not a problem. Oh, tone of her skin. That's a problem. This movie's doomed because they got an actress, regardless of how talented or gifted, whose skin color is a little bit darker than the one in cartoon. See, that change, that's too much. And I want to say this. Please get the fuck off my channel, you mouth-breathing, basement-dwelling, humping motherfuckers. Just get off my channel. Don't come to my channel. I'm on a personal mission. I want to purge 30,000 of my subscribers off my channel within the next 48 hours. And I would like them to be, because with the number of comments of people saying such idiotic, moronic things, I figure there's got to be at least 30,000 of you knuckle draggers around there. So please just leave my channel. Don't come back. Don't watch my stuff. I want to purge 30,000 things. Do me a favor, you racist pieces of shit, and go and find one of your echo chamber websites where you can all stand around and jerk each other off while you tilt your head backs and go, woke, woke. And then you can come on each other's faces and tell each other that come on your face cleanses you of wokeness. Yeah, tell yourselves that. Whatever is going to get you off and make you feel good about yourself. Just don't come around here. Nobody complains about the height of Hugh Jackman. Nobody complains about the physical differences between my beloved Henry Cavill and what he looked like in the comics versus what he looked like in the movies. No, because those changes aren't a problem. The changes are only a problem if the girl's skin color is a little bit different. Yeah, so just, go away. Believe me, I've been doing this. I'm coming up on my 20th anniversary. I'm perfectly good. I can retire tomorrow. It doesn't matter. I just still do this job because I think it's fun. That's all. But you really need to go find an echo chamber where you and your illiterate brood can just gather around and just, like I said, do a big circle jerk with each other.
I think we can cut it there. I think we've seen.
I was going to say, I think that last thing was the most telling thing we needed to hear.
Yeah.
And I think that telegraphs everything we've been saying from, behind the scenes to when we first brought this up the other day is, I think he realizes he's losing some ground here. Him saying that, I can retire tomorrow means, no, he can't. Or he wouldn't be saying this shit.
What stands out to me the most, as I said before, like that one moment where he goes, like, how vulgar can you be talking about people jacking off, coming each other's face, screaming woke? I mean, there's the vulgar of it, but also, like, as I said already, like when you look at his eyes in that moment, the lights are on, but there's nobody home. Like, this is someone who's completely lost it. For him to even say like that, and who's he saying it to? To his audience. And the thing that really stands out to me is the projection of it. When he goes down and basically says, "You people, you who dare disagree with my opinion, or who dare challenge my opinion and worldview, you need to go off into some echo chamber." That's projection, because what he wants to do by get rid of any kind of dissenting voices is to create his own echo chamber where no one is going to disagree with the mighty Campea. Like, for instance, many of you on this panel right here, you're here because you disagree with me. Because I want that kind of opinion. I want to have freedom of opinion where you don't agree, because that's when you can have real conversations. What I think is so disappointing with this is that in many ways, this is worse than FROSKURINN, because she was always an activist. John Campea, to me, is someone that should know better. So, Mr. Gore, I will say right away, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here. I know that this is someone that you have had dealings with. So blame it on me for putting you in this situation on the spot here. But I had no other choice, really, since you're here. What do you think is going on? I mean, I can't be the only one thinking this ain't normal. You don't act like this to your own base of subscribers.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Andre. This is worse than the Frosk situation. At least, and in both situations, the thing they have in common is there's a good point in there. There is actually a substantive point, but the way that point is expressed is horribly misguided. So, and to be clear, I've watched John for years. I mean, he was way ahead of his time.
He was, yeah.
Way ahead of his time with AMC Movie Talk, and then that evolved into other shows where he brought in other people. He, gave John Schnepp an opportunity, and where John did his show Collider Heroes that I appeared on. I wasn't a frequent guest. I was every once in a while, John would invite me on as a guest just to offer some different perspective. And I appreciated that he would have me on as a guest. He's going through something right now, and I really feel for him. I think at a certain point we all kind of experience some kind of burnout. If you day in, day out are on the hamster wheel of producing YouTube content, or back in the day when I was putting out a magazine, you get burned out and you need a break. And I fortunately just recognized it and taken a step back and said, I need to take a break, or maybe I'm going to delegate other parts of my job. And one thing I also know about John is he's one of the hardest working people on YouTube that I know. He produces his show like it's a television show, in the sense that he's doing show notes, and it's very, very structured. And I've been a part of that process and witness to it. And I'm thinking he's more organized than television producers I've worked with. And then there are shows like, say, The Show or FNT, where it's like, hey, what are we going to talk about today? Here's what happened, whatever, let's go. Right. We're all passionate about different things, but there's been something that's been happening that he's responding to. And the anger is kind of misdirected. Something else is going on in his life. So and I have no idea what it is. Maybe he is thinking about quitting. There's a lot of things that just sort of come up when he talks. Retirement is one, and I've got enough money. And, he's not just shooting this video. He's shooting this video out by the pool that kids, it's mostly younger kids, I think, that watch his show. So I feel for like these kids that are sending in like these super chats to this guy that's like walking around his pool, kind of flexing. I've got this, I do this, I travel. And I don't know that it's a good look, right?
Well,
like,
if I may, Chris, I think he's doing it on purpose. And this video is meant for guys like us.
Right. But I gotta also say a couple other things.
Sure.
And this really actually relates to this show as well. We've gotten to this point now where, there's a type of person that you see that they have a set of glasses on where everything is racist. Waking up early is racist. Doing this is racist. Showing up on time to work is racist. This is white supremacy. Also, that is a stupid thing. Also, people that see every single thing as being woke, like this person is caste, that's also, to me, as similar to the person with those racist colored glasses. It's the same thing. However, John is naive in the sense that he's ignoring the fact that wokeness is something that has actually affected films. I see it as a kind of lecturing or messaging, because diversity and we've talked about this, diversity is something that's always existed in movies. There's some movies that are, maybe more diverse than others, but people who work in entertainment today act like diversity is something they invented, and those people are idiots that don't know film history. So there are these sort of two extremes, right? And he's way overreacting to idiots in his chat. There will always be people saying, look, if you read the comments on anything, I see comments about me. For the most part, people say nice things, and which I really appreciate. And then there will always be people that I don't like that guy. I am not for 100% of people, and I recognize that. But I don't allow myself to get rattled by the people who disagree with me. I would prefer that they stay focused on the ideas that I espouse. So disagree with my idea, because that's something we can engage in a healthy debate. But he's way overreacting to trolls, just as Frosk did. Trolls are baiting. Never feed a troll. And I feel sorry for him. I had an exchange with him recently because I was on what was I on? I was on Tuesday night's Main Event with the Geeks and Gamers group, and Campea had also done something weird that week, a different thing, and I mentioned that he owed me money because he promised, he had me fill out a 1099, and I appeared on his show. This was like a year ago, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I'll get you the money," and then he just never paid me. I forgot about it. I'm like, that guy never paid me. And to his credit, he Venmoed me after he heard about it. It was a couple days later. He Venmoed me. We had a text exchange, and I told him, I said, "Dude," I said, "I'm worried about you." I said, "I'm worried about you because you seem to be unraveling, and I don't know if you're going through something right now. I think that this channel, the original video, I prefer the original video that I saw with that had the farts in it. I think it was edited in a funnier way."
Yeah, we tried playing that, but there's a Celine Dion track in the background. We played it actually on Friday, and we got copyright nailed for it.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, I prefer the fart version. But he did say these things, and who, in a way, like, look, and I'm not saying I don't get vulgar or say things that are outrageous. I do. But Campea is under a microscope now because he's kind of unraveling publicly. He is, I don't know if he's using this as an excuse to why he's already losing subscribers, which I think probably has to do with the fact that he's dramatically shifted the format of the show. You know, Robert Meyer Burnett was beloved and really has a wealth of knowledge, a fountain of knowledge. Rob Burnett is filled with it. I mean, you just know from having him on this show or other shows. Rob is great.
I will though say, just to chime in, that the times that I have seen the John Campea show in the last couple of years, and again, massive respect for him because he started over and he's built so many things up to and including his own channel. But on his own channel, the times I've watched for Mr. Burnett.
Yeah,
and I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I mean, John, I can always count on, and this is why I watch John, and I watch John religiously for years. I want to get the, and I don't mean this as disrespect, I want to get the everyman opinions about something because John's opinions are pretty safe. Let's be honest. His opinions are pretty safe, and he's a good gauge of when he really enthusiastically likes something that's more than likely going to be a mainstream hit. But, you know, he can be off on a lot of things just because I don't know that he has the wealth of knowledge that, say, Robert Burnett has, which is why Rob Burnett was he was an anchor on that show. And John getting rid of Rob, I don't know. Can John carry the whole show? We'll see. But I always appreciated John's opinion from the standpoint of he's a good everyman's opinion, mainstream audience opinion. Because my taste is very different. My taste is very, very bizarre sometimes. I like a lot of weird stuff, okay? I like a lot of small indie movies. I like trauma films. Don't go to me for a mainstream opinion.
Oh, yeah, you're wrong about everything.
Well, I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying...
I'm just pulling your leg.
Of course. I'm just saying that, like, I like a lot of weird shit. And trust me, if someone started a channel called Gore Exposed, they could, pan for gold through every live stream I've ever done or every channel. They could find stupid stuff that I said. So
you can do that about everyone.
You can do that about everybody.
Really.
So but I feel like John started this fight with his audience. They don't like being called racists, even though they may in fact be acting that way. I don't feel that, acting in this way wins hearts and minds.
I think there's other things at play here, though.
Yes, I agree with that.
So there's a couple things. You guys are on YouTube and you probably know this already, but and I don't know whether he had a sponsor or he was part of a group that that financed his show. There has been a huge shakeout in the YouTube landscape where many very large, especially tech tubers, have lost their not the sponsor per se, but the the management companies that have been paying the bills, and as long as they met certain metrics in terms of how many videos that they did each month and how big an audience that they attracted each month, they got paid. And there's been a huge shakeup where these management companies have been dropping some of the top YouTubers. Has this happened to him? Did he have a YouTube management company behind him? Does anybody know?
Yes. I know he had a management company. He had a deal with Cricket Mobile.
Okay.
And that merged with, is it T-Mobile now? In
Yes.
any case, I do know that he lost the sponsorship. I don't know if it has to do with the metrics, but I do know that he was bragging to me. It's one of the things that someone needs to, I feel like John needs an intervention from friends. And I'll say it was one of my, the things I liked
that way.
The things I liked least about John is he bragged a bit too much about his success. He does it in his videos, but he would do it behind the scenes, and it made him a little unlikable, that he would brag about his success. It's, you could stand to be a bit more humble or whatnot, but look, he can also be honest with his audience, making your audience a target, G4 being the most recent lesson, never a good thing. He may be also going through some life things now. I mean, he's been doing YouTube longer than I have. I've been doing television since I started television like the late 90s, and then sort of from that took a break, and then started doing YouTube. Kind of, I sort of dreaded the idea of doing YouTube because I think doing YouTube is harder than doing television, having done both. It's harder. That's a separate conversation we can have.
That would be a good conversation.
It's much more difficult to do YouTube because producing television, a lot of things are handed to you. I don't have to worry about the camera. I don't have to worry about where it goes. I don't have to worry about tagging videos. I don't have to, or at least getting someone to do those tasks, right? Like producing, and he produces his show at a very high level of quality. He produces his show like a television show, and not just like it, better than television shows I know of. So you cannot fault John for not working hard. But my God, the guy needs a break. He needs to go on a vacation. He needs to not see movies for 3 months. Maybe that would be my advice to him. He either needs an intervention or a break. But
I think,
but this is also like it's self-sabotage, which a lot of people do. And what's weird is this happens a lot in the YouTube space. Have you noticed this? In the YouTube space, people, it's like they want.
Oops, sorry.
Let me explain why. Like if you get hired for a job, you can eventually get fired. You can also walk away from a job, quit, whatever. With YouTube, it doesn't end.
That's right.
To quit your job is to really self-immolate, right? Like that's the only way to do it. So is this what he's doing now? So there you go. Anyways, I'm sorry. I talked.
No. There's a couple things you said, Chris, that really, because Six showed me a few things, and a couple things you said stuck out to me, and a few things that Campea said, seeing the full video now, that stuck out to me. You pointed out yourself. He's been in this business for 20 years. He puts he puts all this time, effort, and money into making a professional show. What is happening right now that I think is bothering him more than anything is that he's got no audience. You said he's losing subs. I don't see that actually, Chris, because this is what I was talking about. Six sent me his sub count from June 2nd, and it's exact same as it is now. I think his channel's dead. That's what I think is happening.
What I'm saying is he hasn't experienced growth.
Well, to be fair,
other YouTubers, let me just say, other YouTubers like Nerdrotic, he's on his way to 1 million.
That's what I was going to get to. Yeah, if I can finish my point.
He's over 1 million. He is stuck, and basically that's the size of his audience. He's not growing, so it's stagnant, meaning
that's my point. I was going to say, let me get to my point here. Sorry. Because that's the thing is you look at his videos right now, he's getting the kind of views I get on Midnight's Edge After Dark, which has 20,000 subscribers. That's my point. Exactly. Gary, everybody else besides him that is in our community who does this stuff now is doing 10 times better than him. He's only getting 14K views, 22K views, 15K views. Here's one he actually has 61K views on. That's a rarity there, because the most of these, a 90K view one is, I'm surprised, you know, he got a few on that one. But other than that, look at this crap. None of these are worth a shit compared to, like you just said, Gary and all the rest of us. That's what I think he's reacting over. He just told 30,000 people to fuck off, and 30,000 people didn't fuck off because there's not 30,000 people watching it.
And
that's my point.
I think you're right. I mean, again, I came from the tech tube side of things, and I am seeing carnage where people with sometimes up to 1 million subscribers are now getting 5,000 views. And I've talked with them, at least over Twitter, and the level of anxiety and almost suicidal tweets that they're producing, it's amazing. No, YouTube has changed the landscape. There are still obviously extremely popular YouTubers who are getting the numbers. Critical Drinker, for instance, still is getting the numbers, but other people, they're flatlined, and I think he's feeling that. I think that's part of his emotional downturn.
That's what I'm getting at. If he lost this sponsorship, Chris, and nobody's watching his shit, him calling and saying 30,000 people unsubscribe from me right now. There isn't even 30,000 people that he's talking to, Chris. That's what he's freaking out about right now.
And YouTube doesn't really care about subscribers. That's the lowest metric. It's kind of a fun metric in terms of being able to point to, you know, silver plaques and stuff like that. But you got to work the system. It's really all about views. And man, the YouTube landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah, it's a burnout machine. Let's be honest here. And like we all, and to me, that's like why John Campea now has gone from an inspiration to a cautionary tale that we all need to keep in mind. Because Chris, I disagree with you a little bit that John Campea is a very safe everyman. He may have used to be that, but that stopped before he really bought into any kind of like activist production. Because what I've noticed, any kind of activist production mostly gets an automatic pass and protection from him. Like, for instance, The Little Mermaid. Like, Team Campea's take on that movie and its box office was honestly the worst I've seen. Grace Randolph, even, that biggest movie's cheerleader, kicked his ass when it came to honesty and integrity.
Can I clarify
that movie?
Andre, can I clarify real quick?
Go for it.
That's why I used to watch John. He was a really good everyman, vanilla. What does the average mainstream moviegoer think? He used to be that.
Then I agree.
In recent years, in the last couple of years, he goes so hard on like anyone that brings up wokeness. And I agree. I think woke is sometimes as overused as racist.
Yes.
Where after a while it ends up meaning nothing. Right. Yeah. And that is not to say that there is not issues with wokeness, lecturing, messaging in movies. It exists. You're a moron if you don't see it.
Yeah, right? You have the box office to prove right now between last week and this week.
Yeah, there were two movies headlined by, black cast, whatever you say, Spider-Man. I love the new Spider-Man. I thought it was great. I thought it was too long. I think it's flawed, but I think there are just like moments of brilliance, and I really enjoyed it just as a lifelong Spider-Man fan. And just we can get into it later.
We'll get into that later. We'll take it right now, and we'll devote the rest of the video to those in particular.
2 movies back to back, and you see one is not very satisfying to audiences, and one more than sad. People love it. Like people saying they're, it's amazing. And what's funny is they both have north of 2-hour running times, which I'm so over. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of the north of 2 hours. I put out a meme on my Twitter and Instagram. It's my personal. So that Chris Gore, just about the running time of Little Mermaid. If you want to bring up that meme, it might be relevant to the conversation. But what's interesting is this Campea Exposed channel has to really be getting under his skin, because that channel updates often, and I didn't even like. It just showed up in my feed. Why? Because I subscribed to John Campea, so it just showed up, and he does disingenuously sometimes edit these clips, adding the fart noises, which is funny, whatever. But John would probably, my advice to John right now would be to take a break, scale back what you're doing, take some time off, and also you got to have something of a sense of humor about yourself. You've got to, if you're going to be in this, I mean, what's great about, Midnight's Edge in the morning, which is why it's so fun to do. Everyone here has a sense of humor about themselves. Everyone here can laugh about themselves. We laugh, at our, whatever. It's when you meet someone that really doesn't that's sort of lacking in that quality, I have concerns. So
yeah, I'm very glad that you brought that up, Chris, because we have another clip lined up here, and it's actually from this channel, John Campea Exposed. Now, first, I just have to say this with no offense to the owner of John Campea Exposed, but as a general thing, I am not at all a fan of channels which are devoted specifically against one person or something like that, like this or that exposed. If it's like, yeah, do it. If it's a WEF or something, if it's one individual, then at least be funny about it. And credit where credit is due. Like the guy behind this, he's actually really, really funny. And
damn, my Midnight's Edge secret dark underbelly video. I'm almost done.
Send me back all the fucking pics.
I think
better
John,
be funny. It better be funny.
I think John lost it when the Leafs couldn't make it past the second round.
Yeah, I'm
you're sure analyzing as a Canadian now. Oh shit, we're getting deep.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll drop it when you get pissed at me in a couple of weeks.
Am I? Oh, are you lining something up like the?
Nah, but Andre just manages to piss everybody off at some point somehow.
Okay.
But call me Chato.
You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. It's just that I have on the one person you don't want me to have on. But it's just the one.
Oh yeah, there was that too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Don't cross the Norwegian.
Yeah. But anyway, let's roll this clip here because I do like this is satire, obviously, but I do think it's very salient, and it may even run some good points here.
And also to be noted that this is an edited version of the original video as well.
Yeah, yes,
that was already an edited version of original videos.
Yeah,
so this is like when I was griping the other day on Twitter about most songs just being sampled from songs that were sampled from songs that were sampled from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But anyway.
On the morning of January 11th, 2023, John's grandma died at the young age of 99 years old. It was devastating. She had her whole life in front of her. This sent John into an emotional meltdown on his show where he cried on air, making everyone in the room with him uncomfortable. This was considered by many to be the saddest moment in John Campea show history. And it was the moment something broke in John's mind. From this point on, John became antisocial. He started playing video games in the office, neglecting his work, and looking miserable.
All right, Phoenix Rising writes, what did you think of Matt Walsh's What is a Woman movie?
I watched it.
I didn't see it.
Matt Walsh and I definitely don't see eye to eye on politics, but I thought his movie made a very salient point.
Look at the way he sat seething with rage as Rob politely answered the question. This is the look of a man ready to murder someone. John was unhinged in this very moment. Unhinged and ready to erupt. This is the look of a broken man. The look of a man who has nothing to lose. It was in this moment that John knew he had to get rid of Rob. But how? He couldn't just outright fire him, that would be too suspicious. So he thought of a plan, and he thought of it quick. John's behavior began rapidly deteriorating. It became a common occurrence for him to have aggressive and mean-spirited outbursts against his staff. He created an environment of fear and uncertainty.
Wait a minute, you're Jewish?
I'm Jewish.
I'm out of here. And I thought, you know what? That's actually incredibly profound.
Yeah, John, it is.
Fuck you. Shut up. You shut your whore mouth.
Everyone was terrified around him. Then came the big news that would change the John Campea show forever.
We realized that, having Rob or Chris on in the afternoons is really not good for our channel. Basically, so whenever I'm paying Rob and Chris to be on the afternoons, I'm hemorrhaging money. I'm losing a lot of money.
Yeah, you're also hemorrhaging fans.
Yeah, I just thought that was like a really nasty way of getting rid of Robert Meyer Burnett. Just using that. It's so bad for the channel to have them. No, it's bad for the channel.
What a horrible segment.
Yeah.
You know what?
I will say this was a masterpiece of editing, and like the thing with the grandma and stuff like that, maybe like personal, but that was like funny, but like just the look of him seething and angry there when Burnett actually gave his thoughts on what is a woman, which what Campea would feel about. I think that satire commentary right there may have had something to it.
I thought he was angry because he wasn't winning in Mario Kart.
Well, that may have.
You know what? You have your private chat with Robert and you go, look, dude, I can't afford this anymore. Can we just do one show where we have a really pleasant separation and say bye to each other?
Yeah, that was not handled well.
No, my God, that was brutal. I couldn't watch that.
Yeah, that was brutal. And that, like, you've met Robert Meyer Burnett. I describe him as the best of us. And that's how he publicly addressed the firing of Robert Meyer Burnett. It's bad to have him on the channel.
Yeah.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
Wow, how bad. Yeah, my God. I can't afford the guy. He's ugh. Man, oh man.
I'm hemorrhaging money.
I wish I could make money on my channel to afford Robert Meyer Burnett.
Jeez, I'm not.
Well, that's the thing is, look, we've talked to Robert and he's expressed certain things about it publicly and privately. That obviously we're not going to get into the privately side of things, but it is what it is at the end of the day. I think he's worse off without Robert. Because as Andre pointed out in the beginning of this, the only times he has watched has been because of Robert. The only times I've checked in is because I knew Robert was on and I wanted to hear what was going on over there. But I have not watched them religiously in any way, shape, or form for years. Culture, you've been mostly quiet about this. What's your thoughts on this whole?
Before we move on here.
I sitting back listening to everybody else's perspective and obviously somebody's firsthand experience it kind of informed my opinion. Clearly something's going on in the background in his life. It's got to be more compounded than obviously the financial aspects of losing a sponsorship. I feel like there must be something else in the background going on that's making him appear or seem unhinged, because that's my takeaway from that video clip that I've now seen 3 times. Once with some creative editing and once of obviously the pool tour that he gave us there. Clearly there's something going on in the background, and it's not. It may point towards burnout, but I think it's something bigger. I think there is something bigger going on there, because you don't usually become self-destructive unless it's driven by something. And to me, these are the actions of somebody that's just being overwhelmingly self-destructive. Campea's wife is tired of supporting him, possibly. I mean, she is a very powerful person in town. But I can't speak more than just what I can observe. And of course, the AI edited thing that we just watched is interesting in and of itself. I just it's kind of scary, and I really want to avoid that kind of burnout and the events that take place in order to sidestep going after my audience, because that's just not healthy.
Yeah, at this point right now, John Campea, I'm very sorry to say, as someone that found a lot of inspiration in him, has gone from being an inspiration to a cautionary tale.
Well, he's literally become that term from The Dark Knight. You know, you live long enough to see yourself become the enemy kind of thing, or the villain.
Yeah. And his legacy, then this is kind of like the irony of it. Because I know that like the Geeks and Gamers, Gary from Nerdrotic, us, everyone from our generation of YouTubers, many came later that were inspired by us. But we were inspired in whole or in part by John Campea. Channels like us, which we know that he hates, were his legacy.
And I still stand by, and I mean, I know you may disagree, Krista, but that video was made directly to direct at people like us. And I mean, Gary at Nerdrotic,
100%.
Critical Drinker, you, us, Paul, everybody who's kicking the shit out of him right now with doing what he's been doing for 20 fucking years. That's why he's bringing that up, Chris. As you said, he brags about that shit.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's and there are clips where people have brought up Friday Night Tights or Gary and us gamers, for that matter, like on his show in super chats, and he always ignores it.
Oh, I know, and again, I know that he knows who we all are. He's
he makes a derisive comment, so which is completely unnecessary. I mean, he has to have respect for people who become popular, and maybe he's sort of lost the zeitgeist. Maybe that's why, and others have surpassed, in numbers what he's been doing. So,
yeah, and I don't know if it's just irony that Kevin and him happen to be the two guys that inspired me to get into this work, and then they become what they've become. And it's weird because it's almost I hate saying this because I'm not saying that we're at fault, but I feel it's like their jealousy or their rage against us that turned them both into the people they are today, which is sad.
Yeah, but he is, and I've seen this type of person before, a very, very extreme liberal that feels like they constantly have to like push back against any conversation, which might actually have like some deeper layers to it. I mean, the gender and race swaps have now become comical and almost expected. But I do actually think that actress that he's talking about, I think she could be very good. Who knows? I'm generally a wait and see kind of guy. Like, prove me, like you got to earn it. Like, let me see it first. But I think now it's gotten to the point where the audiences are just sick of it, that it's become the expected thing, and it's just getting a bit tiresome. And so he's not. There's a conversation to be had in there, and he's unwilling to even have the conversation, and then is calling his audience names. Terrible mistake. Could not be more misguided. So I think I agree with you, Andre. Something else is going on in his life, and maybe he's he's having maybe a later midlife crisis, looking at like, what am I doing? I'm doing whatever. Like I don't know. Something else is going on that has nothing to do with it. But the number of clips that have come out with him being angry, and look, trust me, I get angry about stuff, but I don't go to a place of attacking the audience or getting as vulgar as he did, or I try to have a point, or at least I also like try to just make fun of myself. And
it's the money. I'm telling you, I've now seen this with so many crashed YouTubers.
Really?
It is this. I recognize the feeling of it, that this guy was riding high at the height of when YouTube was providing a pretty good living, and he had a big audience. But you go through his videos, he's getting fewer views than I am. And I'm only at 100,000 subscribers.
He's getting fewer views. Like he has
that's my point.
He has a live audience, which is twice of what we have right now in this moment at 2,700. But
I don't know if you've had conversations with YouTubers around this, but like I said, I've recently had conversations with people who are crying about how their life has crashed because they can't do the YouTube thing anymore. I think that's a huge part of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, could be. Because again, I was supposed to say, Midnight Edge live archives, where we just repost the live streams, plus clips of the live streams. Go check it out if you haven't done so already. Midnight Edge live archives is at 18,000 subscribers. And our views, of course, some views get like less than 1,000, or some vids or some clips gets less than 1,000 views. Others gets upwards of 100,000 views. So on average, our clips from our live streams do better than his videos from his main channel.
I'm not so sure he gets this many viewers on his live streams. I went to some of his live streams and they weren't
they're typically around 5,000 views.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'd be very happy if we had.
Well, I know. I'm not saying that,
but and here's like the thing: our views are very, very slowly increasing. We now have an average of 2,000 live viewers. 1 year ago, we had an average of 1,000 live viewers. So we are increasing. We are expanding. We grew at 10,000 subs last month.
Well, I'm just going back here through. You have to go all the way back to his out of the theater reviews are the only things that seem to get any views, and they're still under 100K. Like after his last out of the theater review, which was that one that had 90K views, you have to go all the way back to his Little Mermaid out of the theater one to get anything that has anything close to that with 89K views. Everything else, okay, John Wick officially on the way. Okay, that's 108K views. There's the only other exception right there. Like he's not getting any views really. Like that's what I see. I think Paul is right. He's on this downward spiral. If he lost his sponsor, then I think that's the case. But we should be moving on here.
This clip was taken from Midnight Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.